Hello, welcome back to episode 4 of Talk with the Interns. My name is Riley. I go to the University of Notre Dame.
And my name's Mia. I go to the University of Wisconsin-Madison.
And last episode we talked about internships, jobs, what it looks like to apply for those, what kind of things we have on campus for those kinds of opportunities. Today we're going to be talking about dorm life and what it's like living on and off campus.
Yeah, we also want to do a little reminder about the Q&A section that we do at the end of every episode where we answer questions sent in by people via the Education USA Instagram page.
So the first thing we're going to be talking about today is living on campus. So what that looks like is typically you live in a dorm community. I don't know what you did your first year at UW, but maybe you could talk about if you lived on campus.
Yeah, so at UW-Madison, it's not required to live on campus like ever throughout your college experience, but I would say it's like very, very common. The majority of students freshman year will live on campus in one of the dorms. And then I would say typically the most normal thing, the most common thing is to then your second, third, and fourth years live off campus. Okay. So like my sophomore, junior, and now senior year, I've lived in a few different houses.
Okay, so basically the difference between living on campus would be you're living in a dorm by the university and you're paying the university through your tuition to live on campus. And then off campus would be you're finding like your own house or your own apartment that's off campus and you can choose to live with whomever.
Yeah. And there's definitely like a lot of pros to living on campus, which I'm sure you can speak to, like living on campus for a majority of your time in college, but it's just like so much closer to everything. There's like so much kind of like more to do, I would say. We have like tennis courts and volleyball courts and everything.
Yeah. So like she was saying, at Notre Dame, it's required to live on campus for 3 out of your 4 years. So your first 3 years, and then they let you live off campus for your last year, which is fun. But like you were saying, it's just such a big pro to live on campus. I think people hear that it's required to live on campus for 3 years and like, oh my God, that's so horrible. Yeah. And I'm like, no, I love it. It's so convenient. Like I go to mass on Sunday and it's a 5-minute walk. And then I can walk another 5 minutes to the dining hall and I can walk 5 minutes back to my room. Yeah. It's just super, super convenient. And I was talking about earlier, but my business school is a 5-minute walk as well, and I leave for class like 10 minutes before. Not having the hour commute or anything like that really just adds that time back to your day.
Yeah, I will say like now, like the house that I lived in last year, it was like honestly like a 30-minute walk to some of my classes, which like granted my campus is very large, so like that's not crazy. But like freshman year, it was usually like 10, 15 minutes.
Right, and it like you don't realize how much of like the time adds back to you.
No, absolutely. And then in terms of like what dorms actually look like or like sort of what a typical dorm vibe is, I would say my freshman year dorm was definitely like different than some of my friends. So I think it definitely depends on like maybe how new your dorm is, like what part of campus it's in. Mm-hmm. But mine was like a little bit of a newer and like larger dorm. So I had like big ceilings, like a relatively nice amount of space between my one roommate who I shared my room with. So we both like lofted our beds, which means like basically lifted them up like to the ceiling, and then you have like a lot of space underneath them. So we put like
you could like stand under them.
Yeah, we put like a couch under one. My roommate had like her hammock hanging under her bed, which was like so fun. And then we both have a desk. We both had a desk, a mini fridge, a microwave, and then like closet space basically.
I had a pretty similar setup. I also lived in a double, so just with one other person, and we put like a couch in between ours, but we ended up putting like our desk and our dresser, and I think that was it that went under. But it was obviously again just like a really big safe space saver, which is really nice.
And then as you mentioned, it was like a double, but there's like triples. I know we have like quads, and then I think my freshman year we had like an over-admittance of students. We had like a lot of students my freshman year, and I think some people had like 6 other roommates. Wow. So they made it really big.
Yeah, we have this upcoming fall, I'm living in what we call a quad. So it's with 4 other people, hence quad. And which they share 3 rooms. So 1, 2, 3, and then 2 people live on each side, and then the middle room is kind of like that common area. So you can put like a couch, a TV. It's kind of just like a privilege as you get to be like an upperclassman. And then we also have like we call like them 6-mans. So they're typically in like men's dorms, but we do have a couple ones in girls' dorms. But again, that's like, I think it's 3 rooms. They're just bigger.
Oh, sure.
And then you can put 3 people in each room.
Yeah.
So, which would definitely be a lot. But
Yeah.
so sometimes there definitely are challenges that come with living in the dorm. Sharing that small of a space after your big adjustment to college is a really big, again, adjustment.
Yeah.
And I think learning how to respect one another's space is probably the biggest advice.
Absolutely. I would say also maybe for like international students, if it's not something that's like super common or like even thought a lot about, seeing as like you don't normally live on campus if you go to college here, it can be like a bit of an adjustment to like figure out how to live with somebody, figure out how to like do your own laundry, maybe like cook for yourself if that is something you do.
Just living with your family only, and you have to room and live with someone that you just met 10 minutes ago. It's definitely a really big adjustment, but just a reminder that it's an adjustment for everyone. Everyone's going through the same thing. All of us typically will have just lived with our families too. Yeah. And maybe we shared a room, maybe we haven't, but it's definitely an adjustment for everyone. So just respecting one another's space and keeping your stuff on your half of the room, all of that.
Yeah, definitely. All right, now we're going to get a little bit more into sort of like living with a roommate, what that looks like your freshman year, or as Riley mentioned, like further on into your college years, if that's something that is specific to your college. Usually, I would say it's sort of like, it usually depends on what college you go to, like whether you can pick who you live with and like what dorm you live in. So I know in my case, we do have the option to like rank our preferences in terms of what dorm we'd live in, and then we can also like send in a request of who we'd like to live with. So a lot of people will like find people via Facebook groups or like Instagram pages. There's like a few different forums, I think, as well, where you can sort of like chat with somebody, see if you think you'd want to live together, and then like put that on your housing application. So I lived with like somebody that I went to high school with, but I know we both like sort of like we tried to like branch out and like talk to different people, but that just ended up being easier. But I know a lot of people who do like random.
Right. So at the University of Notre Dame, at least, everything is random. So you have a random roommate, a random dorm, and a random size of your room, which is definitely partial to the Notre Dame experience. Yeah. Honestly, I think I've heard like 1 or 2 like bad roommate stories. So I'd say for the most part, sometimes random roommates might work out a little better than like knowing someone or something like that. I had a great experience. Definitely, again, it's just respecting one another's space. So we also have something called resident assistants, which are basically, they help guide all of like the students that live in what we call sections. So each floor, at least at Notre Dame, is split in half, and you have like an A and a B section. And the RA, so there's one RA for the A section, one RA for the B section, and the RA just basically like hosts like socials, can help you figure out like roommate disagreements, or if you like kind of need any other help. Yeah.
I would say also like they are like a bit of like an officer, so technically if like
they are like employed by the university.
Yeah, so like if you're doing something that's against like the code of the dorm that you live in, they have to like report it, and sometimes you like get written up and then have to talk to somebody if you like get caught doing something. But in terms of like, as you mentioned, like managing roommate disagreements or anything, they also, I think like within like the first week or so of living with your roommate, roommates have you fill out like a roommate agreement form. So that'll include different things like what time like lights off or like quiet time is in your dorm, like how like organized or clean you are gonna keep your space, just like random different things like that.
Yeah, for sure.
And it just like helps to then, if an issue does arise, you can like bring the sheet, or like I think it's like online now, but just like bring it to your advisor and be like, or your resident assistant, and be like, this is what we agreed on and my roommate isn't
following it. Have you ever had like any disagreements or anything?
Honestly, like no. Yeah. Just because like I
don't know if I like know of anyone who's had like those, had to bring out like the.
I think like one story that I do know of is like somebody who lived in my dorm, and their roommate just like had their partner over like more than they agreed to on the form. So honestly, it was like very easily resolved, which was like lucky for the two of them, and like nothing had to happen, but they just talked about it with their RA, resident assistant, and it got worked out.
Yeah, definitely. I think just like the biggest adjustment is acknowledging that you are living with someone you just met. Maybe in your case you lived with someone from high school, but still you guys are moving to a brand new place with a brand new setting and all of that. So just remember that everyone's adjusting and everyone needs to learn how to communicate, respect one another's boundaries. I think my biggest piece of advice is just keep your stuff on like your half of the room, unless like you like agree to like share something, whatever. But like as long as you can keep your stuff on your half of the room and keep it like somewhat put together, I think there's like never really a problem.
Don't let like the small like nitpicky things like bother you either. Just like try and be adaptable and be like, this is just a space that I'm living in.
And I think like communication's like a really big thing. Like I remember hearing this one story, and it was because sometimes you have like the sink in your room, and the girl would like never like wash out like the toothpaste from the sink, and she literally never said anything, and it grew to like this huge problem. If she would have said something the first time, it bothered her, it would have never even like have been a thing.
So just communicate, I would say.
I think so. Just like being willing to be adaptable and like acknowledging that you're living with different people. But another thing is like here in Chile, you typically grow up like living with your family and maybe sharing a room with your sibling or maybe even your parents, or I'm not quite sure what that looks like. But in the US, typically you would have your own room. So for some of us, it's our first time sharing a room, and for you guys, it could also be your first time sharing a room.
Yeah, especially with like somebody who like has maybe like different cultural norms from yourself. Like it can be tricky to like be adaptable and like live with a person who's like significantly different from yourself. But once again, just like communication is key. Being adaptable and just like keeping an open mind is really important. All right, now we're going to get into sort of like the fun parts of like decorating a dorm, as well as like the dining aspect of living in a residence hall. So I would say, I know like a popular like TikTok or like Instagram trend usually like going into college is like watching people decorate their dorms. And I feel like that was honestly like such a fun part of my experience. Like it's very much so real. Like I know a lot of people who are like super into it, who will have like matching bedspreads,
like the wallpaper
or like like a certain pattern rug, which we weren't like super like gung-ho about it, but we definitely like sort of like kind of curated a vibe
just a little bit.
Had posters up. But yeah, honestly, it's like easy to do so on like a relatively small budget because it is like honestly just a room. So there's like not a lot of space.
Even if that looks like bringing stuff from home, like from your homeroom to like decorate. Like I think like a funny thing we were talking about earlier was like the LED lights. And like I remember like every single room had like the LED lights like all across the top. But I thought that was really funny. But I think there's like a really big culture around decorating your room. Definitely for girls, maybe not as much. Maybe for guys, they just hang up like a flag and call it a day. But
that's true.
But as for dining hall goes, at Notre Dame we have 2 dining halls on campus. You are required to have a meal plan for the 3 years that you live on campus. The first year you're required to have like what we call swipes. So a swipe is just like a swipe in to the dining hall, and that gets you unlimited food until you walk out. Oh wow. So basically, I think they budget you for like 2 to 3 meal swipes a day, which is more than enough. I always end up with like 50 more than like I need. And at the end of like your freshman year, you can like go down because you'll know how many you typically would like use in a semester or whatever that looks like. But at Notre Dame, we have typically like 3 or 4 stations that stay the same. So like a salad bar, pasta bar, like you can always get like a hamburger or something like that. And then we also have like rotating stations. So sometimes the dining hall staff will just choose the meal for that night or like the couple of meals that they're going to offer. Sometimes that's Asian food, sometimes that's Italian food, sometimes that's
like Indian, Asian.
It can literally be whatever that they decide to cook, which I think is also really nice, like to kind of not know and have like a different aspect. But we also have like days that stay the same too. So like on Tuesdays and Thursdays, on Tuesday we have like Southwest salad bowls, and it's like a 10-minute line because everyone loves it, and it's like a really big deal at lunch because it's only offered at lunch and all that. So there are some like funny like culture things like about it.
I would say for us it's like basically the same. I would say our meal plans are like a little bit, I think we have like 3 options. So it's like it increases in like swipes as you go up, and then we have like stations that stay the same, and then like those rotating stations.
Can you like take it to go? Or
Yeah, we can take it
that's
to go. So that's like, I know maybe not every university has that as an option, but we have like, you basically like trade in some money at the beginning of a semester to like have a coin that then you can like get a to-go container for. So that's like super convenient if like you know that you're like gonna be at an event or like you have class all day, you can like fill it up with a salad and have it to take, which is super convenient. But then we also have like themed days some occasionally. So we have like a Wing Wednesday. I think I'm like forgetting some of the other ones that we had, but we also always have like really good breakfast waffles. Those are one of my favorites, and they have like a W inscribed.
Oh wait, that's cool.
Awesome,
At Notre Dame we do like a really big like Christmas dinner and a really big Easter dinner. So they like catered like a whole like cocktail shrimp and like this whole like extravagant thing. But it's like it's super fun, and I think going to the dining hall is also like just a way to socialize. So like, hey, like do you want to go get food later? Like let's just go get dinner instead of like hanging out or like I don't know. I think it's like a really easy way to like reconnect and like hang out with your friends too.
Honestly.
Yeah.
All right, now we're going to sort of continue with the dorm conversation, but talk about like how they vary, sort of like the ins and outs of like bathrooms, laundry, all of that. So at UW, we have like co-ed buildings. I think Notre Dame's one of the dorms where you have single gender.
Yes, so like the whole building is single gender, which is honestly kind of nice when you're like walking around or walking down the hallway
to worry about
towel and you're like, okay, it's just girls, so like I'm fine.
Yeah. So I think we do have a couple of dorms where like maybe they're just single gender, but I would say
like single gender floor.
Yeah,
I know that's like a big thing.
Yes, for sure. But the dorm that I lived in, I was like living across from all guys, and then that was a situation.
That's such a different experience.
It can definitely be an interesting experience. But in terms of like, as I mentioned before, like ranking what dorms you want to live in, we have like different cultural centers and like learning communities within some of our dorms. So one of my friends was enrolled or had like lived in a dorm that automatically enrolled her in like some 3-credit like course that was called like a learning community, and they basically just like talked about freshman year-esque stuff, I think. But we also have ones that are like specifically for international students, which can be super convenient. So like if you think that you'd want to like connect with other international students your freshman year, you can like rank that higher on your housing list. We also have like one called like the studio, so it's for like performing arts students, I think. We have like a greenhouse community, and that's in one of the dorms that has like a rooftop like greenhouse. But there's lots of different options if that's something that you think would like help you maybe like acclimate to the community a little bit easier. I think they all require like some sort of additional payment, but you can always like check that out on the website.
At Notre Dame, just like international students, just like everyone else, live among everyone else, which is kind of like a cool experience too, because you still have like that international student community because there's so many ways to like get connected with one another. We get to like live with like other Americans or maybe like even other international students.
So I guess like getting more into like actual dorm life, I would say something that I maybe was a little bit nervous for was like the whole communal bathroom situation.
So that's a really big thing at Notre Dame. I think communal bathrooms, I think, are like probably like 50-50. Like either I think you like share one bathroom among like the 4 of you in your room. I know like that's how my friend at LSU was. She lived with like 4 people, and then there was like a little bathroom like in between. But a communal bathroom is typically you'll have like 4 or 5 showers, 4 or 5 toilets, and then like 4 or 5 sinks. At Notre Dame we have our own sink in our own room, which is really nice for like brushing your teeth, getting ready in the morning, so you don't have to like do everything in the communal bathroom because it's down the hall. We have 2 per floor. I don't know. It's like
I think it's pretty similar. I don't think like any rooms, at least in my dorm, had like the sink. So it was like you were kind of going to the bathroom.
So definitely, like you said, I was a little nervous at first. But honestly, it's like really nice. Like they clean it for you. You don't have to like clean your own bathroom, which is really, really, really nice.
And they're like very on top of it too. Like, it was honestly never
like every day. It's awesome. At the same time too, so you know like when you like can't really go in, which is nice. But I've never like run into any problems with all 5 showers are taken, I can't shower. I don't think that's like ever a problem, even though there are like 20 or 30 girls like living in my section.
Kind of like a magical process.
And then another thing I would say to bring are shower shoes. Everyone wears shower shoes. No one.
Which are basically just like flip flops or like Crocs.
I have like slides. but it's like
it just like avoids like feeling scared of like the floor.
Like everyone wears them, so I would definitely like bring them.
I would also
a shower caddy too. So like we get to keep our shower caddies in the shower, like in the bathroom, I guess. There's like a wall for them, which is super nice. And you just have your own stuff, but also it makes you feel like, okay, no one's gonna take my stuff. I could take my shower caddy back to my room, like if I want to.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, as you said, like you live in like single gender dorms, so
we just like walk down in our towel, which is awesome.
I would either just like walk to the shower in my clothes if I was like not feeling like I wanted to run into a man in the hallway, but also I most of the time used a robe, and I would say that's like what pretty much everybody. Sometimes the guys do the towel.
So I would say another big thing that people get really nervous for coming into college is doing your own laundry and like the communal laundry rooms, I guess. So at Notre Dame, you don't have to pay for your laundry, which is a really, really nice perk. Dragging it all the way to the basement is quite a little bit of the hassle, but that's okay. I mean, literally everyone does it, so you figure it out. We also have I think like maybe like 8 washers and like 8 dryers or something like that. But we have like 250 girls who live in our dorm. So sometimes it can get very, very crazy. So one of the things that like we're recommended or like told to do is like setting a timer like a couple minutes before your load like technically ends. So like if I put my clothes in and it's like, 30 minutes left. And so I would go down in like probably like 28 or 27, whatever. And just make sure that I'm there to like move my clothes to the dryer because we have like a couple, I don't know if you've like had any like personal problems.
I was always like very on top of it just because like I didn't want to lose. Also like sometimes theft in the laundry room is an issue if you're like not there on time. So that's why it's also super important to like set that timer. But I know like a few of my friends who like maybe didn't get their dry clothes in time, and like a lot of the times, like, Sunday is a very popular day to do laundry, so it's like, if people are waiting, like, they're gonna get impatient, like, taking their clothes out of the...
I mean, like, also, like, you're not respecting other people's time. So then again, like...
So, like, their clothes just, like, ended up on the floor of the laundry room, which, like, sucks, because then you just want to wash them again. And I do have to pay for laundry, so then I'd be like, you have to pay another however much.
How much does your laundry cost?
I think it was $3 for the washer and $3 for the dryer.
Wow, okay, so not cheap.
No. That's what I think. I don't know. Maybe it's changed since then.
No, but I think that's like a pretty universal thing. Like, it's laundry is expensive, like at university.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of like other last points about like dorm life or dorm quirks, I know like something that stands out to me is like the fire alarms that would always go off at like literally like midnight or like 1 or 2 a.m. So we'd all get sent outside, and it was kind of a bonding experience. Like you were all like tired and like in your pajamas and then like maybe a blanket outside. So it's just like random stuff like that.
And that's typically from like at like 5 p.m. So, which is nice. But of course, like sometimes it actually does go off. I've never had it like actually happen in my dorm, which is really nice. But our other dorms like are also close. So like basically if one goes off, you can hear it like throughout campus. But again, just kind of like a funny experience. But nothing like
it makes the experience like the experience that it is. So
absolutely. And then also like at least at Notre Dame, every dorm has like a different reputation because we don't have like Greek life or like sororities, fraternities, anything like that. So they're kind of like our like group, I guess you could like call like what it's like. You have like dorm pride and like all of that. It's like we have like rivals and like brother and sister dorms, and no, it's awesome. It's super fun.
I would say we like kind of have a similar thing, but it's more so I would say ours is like kind of just. I think there are more specifics, but like not that are coming to my mind. But like we have like one section of our campus that's like full of dorms that are like technically like quieter, and then the other half are like known for being a little more like active and loud. But that's fun. Yeah, that's the biggest difference.
I think that's like a pretty unique thing to Notre Dame though, because like
that sounds fun.
And like your friend group will like typically come from like your dorm too. And just like kind of fun. You get to like live with all your best friends. But fun. Okay, lastly, we're going to get into our Q&A segment that the questions are sent in via the Instagram, Education USA Chile. The first question we got was, what if I don't like my roommate?
Ooh, okay. This definitely is like a fear, I feel like, of many people. And also like it does come to fruition sometimes, unfortunately. But I would say that's why like that form that we talked about earlier is super important. If you're able to like lay down the law between the two of you and then have that as like a basis to then take to your RA and be like, my roommate is not following like what we established as sort of like our roommate agreement, our roommate plan, they'll definitely like take it pretty seriously into account, especially if it's something where like you feel very disrespected or like something significant is happening. It's definitely a possibility to get a roommate change. I would say I would encourage like giving it a little bit of time, being open-minded once again. But if it is something where there is a change, it'll either be like you moving to like a different room in the dorm, or sometimes like moving across campus to like an entirely different hall. The next question we got was, do I have to live on campus?
So, like I mentioned earlier, at Notre Dame it is required to live on campus for 3 years, which is a pretty big commitment. I'd say it obviously, of course, just depends on the university. So typically you would live on campus freshman year. I think that's like pretty standard. I don't know if it's like quote required, but it definitely is very encouraged and everyone does it. I think just to have that first year experience living among other people, and that's how you like meet friends and stuff like that too. So it isn't required, but for the most part, at least for me it is. But was it required for you?
It's not required for me, no. So we like, I would say it's not required, but like everybody who's a freshman basically does it.
Right. So isn't a requirement, but definitely recommended, and it's really fun. So like it's
you'll meet like the most people.
It's super fun. And then the last question we got was, can you have your own room?
Yeah, so at UW, I don't believe that having like a single room is an option. I think you mentioned that it is at Notre Dame.
Yes, so you can get a single, you'll never get like placed in there as a freshman. Sure. Or anything like that, but you can choose like after your freshman year, you can, if you get like high enough on the lottery list, you can like get it a single. So where you just like have your own room, which is really nice. RAs have their own room too. But for the most part, like I don't think anyone like really chooses to live in a single, unless like maybe like at Notre Dame when you're like already, okay, I've done my 2 years, like I'm ready to live. Like
I would say so, as we mentioned, like a majority of people probably just like, even if it's something that like seems like a little scary living with somebody else, it's just like the best way to like meet people.
And everyone does it, so.
But if it is something that like totally scares you, as I mentioned, like at some universities like mine, we aren't required to live on campus, so there is the option to like live off campus in like a single bedroom apartment or.
Yeah, and I feel like I always am like, oh, this is required, but like there's always like gaps, and like if you need like extra accommodations, they're always willing to help. But I think that's it for today. Thank you so much for tuning in to our dorm housing life here on campus. So yeah, we'll see you next time.